Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good people. Yeah, you know what it is. Hard worker, scrappy, unfiltered, and sometimes unhinged football content. Hard to explain, but you know it when you see it. Doing it daily our way. I don't know what you're talking about right now. Redraft and Dynasty Fantasy Football, we got you covered. You know their defense is ranked like 31st in the NFL. NFL draft prospects and rookies. Now you know you in the right place for that.
Absolutely.
All right, then stop saying it. Then we're done. And prop bets with my man JRich. Count that money, man. Now wipe the crust out of your eyes. Get you a cup of coffee. It's time to wake your ass up with Ray G. You honestly are making absolutely no sense and you sound silly as hell. Let's get it, GMGP. Good morning, good people. It is Monday, August 21st, 2023. Y'all decided to wake y'all asses up, Ray G. Man, and y'all know I appreciate y'all for being in the damn building. Over 100 strong, already bright and early, 8 a.m. Who we got in the building? What's up, Jay Peters? I see you in the building. Jimbo, what's going down, big dog? What's going down, Jimbo? What's he saying about James Cook? Talking about James Cook. Ty DeClaire in the building. Robert, Shane, Joe, Patrick. Talking to the people in the building. What's happening with you, Leo? Yeah, we got a good crew in here this morning. Ricardo in the building. Alex. I see Dynasty Barry. Craig. Man, let's get it, JRich. I'm excited today, man. Woo! I'm feeling good. Kids are getting out of the house, baby. It is school. School is in session. They are out. I'm excited. I am glad y'all are tapped in. This is the Wake Up with Ray G show. If y'all have been here before, y'all already know what we're about to do. About to have a damn good time talking about week 2 of the NFL preseason. Takeaways, thoughts, different conversations around these players. Last night, Scott and I did Destination Chill. Talked about a lot of stuff, how to react to preseason. Is preseason important? Why to watch? You know, we disagreed a little bit, but more importantly, we put out a good show for you all to consume. So make sure you tap into that. Got a lot of good stuff on the podcast feed. JRich, how you doing this morning, baby? How's it going?
I'm good, man. I'm good. It's funny you mentioned the show with Scott because it was hilarious. You texting me, telling me we need to get everything ready last night, making sure it's all put together. But I did listen to it this morning and it was great. But yeah, Scott had Jordan McNamara talking the future of Dynasty and the Dynasty Gamer. That was a great show. Listen to that one this morning as well. And then we also had Ray. Jeff Mueller is back for season 2 of the Injury Pod. He dropped his preseason Injury Pod. That dropped on Sunday, so go and check that out. He'll be doing injuries throughout the season. And Jeff, man, finding his flow in year 2. I'm liking what I'm hearing. Hey, and blowing up on socials, man. Holy smokes.
Jeff is killing it right now, man. He's got Breece Hall retweeting them, killing the social media game.
Mike Clay, follow. Mike Clay, JM Thrive PT, at JM Thrive PT. Follow him. Jeff is killing it right now.
We got it cooking.
Baller of the week, Jeff Mueller.
Got it popping at Destination Debbie, man. It is it's fun to watch all the people grow, man. It's fun. I told Scott last night when we got off the show, man, one of the things I'm proud that we've been able to do, Jay, since we started this thing, or since I started it, and you've been with me damn near since I started this thing, is we've given a lot of people internally opportunities to grow, right? I could go put a post on Twitter today and be like, hey, you know, you big name analyst or you big person working at Fantasy Pros, come do some stuff for DD. But we've given people that have grown, who have truly loved and been passionate about who we are, what we do, and our kind of vibe. And it's really good to see those guys grow. And like I told Scott last night, I'm going to push him as well to help him grow because, you know, there's a lot about process and leverage and all of this stuff, but really getting people to understand who you are and connecting with you, that's the way that you grow a dope community. And that's why I think we've got one of the best communities in fantasy football, man. We really care about what we do, give people opportunities from inside. And, you know, you talked about McNamara. We brought him in our Discord channel a long time ago before Warp started to really take off, just trying to understand this thing. And pretty excited about some of the stuff that we got coming to Destination Debbie very soon here in the next couple of days. So, Jay, we got a lot to get to, though, man. We got a lot to get to today. There's a lot of stuff that I kind of want to touch on with the risers and fallers over on Underdog Fantasy. So I think we need to just go ahead and get into it because I really want to dive into these players, what we're thinking about them, because there is some actionable information that we can, you know, sort of decipher through from preseason. So let's just get to it. Underdog risers and fallers, man.
From the biggest and brightest stars to the last round pick, we have you covered for everything on Underdog Fantasy. Let's get into it and let's get that money, baby. As always, right? We are talking the underdog riders and followers from the top 150. Ray, are you okay?
Did you hear that? Did you hear me swallow the It was fucking hot, dude. And I tried to keep a straight face.
Really? Hot coffee. Wow.
It was blazing. Yeah, my bad, man. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So this is based off the last week. I'll keep it very brief because Ray doesn't want to touch on this a little bit. Ray, there's a very common theme here. Saints and Bears. We got Khalil Herbert flying up boards. Dude catches one screen pass, has a third of his career receiving yards in one preseason game. All of a sudden, up a round and a half on Underdog. Khalil Herbert is flying up boards. Dalvin Cook signing with the Jets, nuking Breece Hall's value as Breece Hall is falling down almost a whole round. Hey, I'm just telling you what the ADP is telling us. We got DJ Moore flying because he caught a screen pass. George Pickens.
Oh my gosh!
I mean, he did catch a touchdown. Did catch a touchdown, and Ray, he actually caught two great passes. One great pass from Kenny Pickett for a touchdown, and another one in the end zone with one hand. Absolutely just destroyed whoever that cornerback was. And Alvin Kamara flying up boards as well. But we'll see what happens this week. This week things may change a bit. We have Rondale Moore falling. He's exclusively in the slot now in Carolina. We have Breece Hall falling. Treylon Burks. He has an LCL sprain. We'll see when he ultimately comes back. He's week to week right now. Mike Vrabel said that he's hoping that he'll be ready for the season, but he may miss a couple of weeks. Jameson Williams hamstring injury plus suspension. And Ray, I didn't know this actually, but apparently Dan Campbell was talking about how he's not concerned, but unsure of how to approach things with Jameson Williams because while he's suspended, he can't come to team facilities for rehab and treatment. So that will be interesting how he manages that on his own. We know that we're not so sure how we feel about him right now and kind of his decision-making at times. So we'll see how that ultimately progresses. And then Miles Sanders also has a groin injury, hoping to be back for the season. He rested this week in preseason and will be resting next week as well. So hopefully he will be back. And Bryce Young desperately needs something in the running game. Miles Sanders would be a great addition to that. But those are your riders and followers. Justin Fields is rising. Derek Carr is rising. The two offenses that surprised most people in week one, the Saints and the Bears, and it's reflected on Underdog this past week.
So I just want to know, because the people said you woke up with a mouthful of salt in your mouth because all the guys that you were talking about, Khalil Herbert, you're throwing subliminals over the screen pass to Herbert and DJ Moore and the one catch from George Pickens. Let's talk a little bit about Dalvin Cook really quickly though, Jay, because I don't believe Dalvin Cook had made his decision when we did the show last week, but now
it happened right after. Like I think that Monday evening we got Zeke, and then right after we got Zeke, we got Dalvin Cook, and that kind of sucked. But
so let's talk about it. How do you feel? What are your now that we've had a week to process? So I don't really care about your initial reaction, but knowing that Breece Hall's back in practice, Dalvin Cook still is not practicing from shoulder surgery. Knowing that it's a 1-year deal for essentially for Dalvin Cook. He's going to be there with Breece Hall. What are your now, I don't want to say again, recent, your immediate thoughts, but now that you've had some time to think about the situation, think about this Jets offense, think about these two running backs, how are you feeling about Breece Hall and Dalvin Cook today? Not just in seasonal leagues. Well, let's go redraft and then let's go for dynasty. How are you feeling about this situation of Breece Hall and Dalvin Cook right now for fantasy football in particular?
I think that the market reacted appropriately, to be honest. As much as I think we expected Breece Hall to maybe start a little bit slow, this just about guarantees it at this point, right? And the problem for us is we can't project if that slow start will be a prolonged thing throughout the whole year, or if Breece Hall will eventually take over the backfield. Because while we all think that Dalvin Cook is washed relative to Breece Hall and Breece Hall's way more explosive, I think there's a world where, Dalvin Cook can take some receiving touches that we're hoping would go all to Breece Hall away. And I think that's where we're going to be trying to project that forward. It's going to be very difficult. So for me, I'd say that it's still Breece Hall's backfield, but again, the touchdowns could be split. The reception share could be a little bit more than we're hoping for. And at that point, is Breece Hall even still of value, or is he kind of in that Najee Harris, Travis Etienne tier where they're operating with another running back that we think is talented that can take valuable touches away from him, right? And I think that's where initially Breece Hall was a bell cow, not quite Tony Pollard because Tony Pollard's rising, but, a majority share, all the receiving work, expected to be used in the red zone heavily because he was the biggest back, the strongest back, the most explosive. And I don't think we can say that anymore. And so now I look at this backfield and I say he might be a Najee Harris with a Jaylen Warren. He might be a Travis Etienne with a Tank Bigsby. And my question to you is, would you still take Breece Hall over those backs, knowing that now and kind of gauging those expectations?
Yeah, man. I think you made some really good points there. Could this just be another version of what we kind of already see throughout the NFL? And I think you make some very good.
Yeah.
You listed some very good names. You talked about Najee Harris with Jaylen Warren being there. There was somebody else, Tank Bigsby and Travis Etienne. Could this be? I personally think this is what majority of NFL teams are trending towards. So this is not any shot at Breece Hall. It's not any shot at Dalvin Cook. I believe this is the future of the NFL. I really do. And you can look at data that suggests there's only a handful of running backs prior to this season that are receiving 60, 70% of the opportunity in a backfield. So I do think this is something where I still want Breece Hall. Let me just go ahead and say that first and foremost. I still want Breece Hall. I still think and believe that Breece Hall is going to be the most productive member of the New York Jets backfield this season and beyond, moving forward, looking down the line in Dynasty. But this definitely does bring down that ceiling some, having another awesome running back like Dalvin Cook. Let's not forget this dude is still dynamic. He's still awesome. Is he a little bit older? Sure. But this is something where I believe both running backs can thrive. Both running backs would be able to. Did you listen to Austin Eckler and Matt Harmon talk about this? So Eckler was saying, Austin Eckler was saying this is going to be better for Breece Hall. Eckler talked about when he had a running mate in Melvin Gordon, how much better he felt after the game. If anybody's out there not listening to Eckler and Matt Harmon, you're crazy, because you're getting valuable insight from one of the best players in the NFL talking about fantasy football and talking about some of the things that happen inside the locker room on the field that impact these players after the fact. And Eckler was like, man, I felt so good after games, splitting work with Melvin Gordon. I was healthy through the whole year. I wasn't dealing with injuries. I could walk after games. So if anything, I think this is going to be a net positive for Breece Hall, even if it takes whatever theoretical ceiling we have projected for him down a little bit. Maybe what you're hoping happens is the efficiency ticks up. He stays healthy. He's on the field all 17 games, even if he starts out a little slow. So I saw somebody in the chat say that they got Breece Hall damn near in the 5th round in Underdog the other night. I'm signing up for that every single time. So if you're able to catch those discounts, then I'm all about it, man. So I'm not concerned. I think this is going to be good for Breece Hall. And more importantly, if you're a fan of the Jets, it's an awesome football move for the New York Jets. So I don't really think it's a problem. It's the NFL, man. You got to have multiple running backs. Keep your guys healthy. Keep them fresh. Make sure that they're there and available all season.
Yeah, I mean, Ray, you hit the nail on the head. It's nothing to do with the talent of Breece Hall, and I still believe he can have the majority of the touchdowns as well. It's just we can't project that right now, and it's because Dalvin Cook is a competent running back that can catch passes, can run between the tackles, and can score touchdowns. But do you want to touch on Rhamondre Stevenson and your boy Zeke Elliott now, because that also broke? Do you feel any way about Rhamondre? Because he's going to fall down boards a little bit. A lot of people wore in. So are you worried at all about the goal line work? Because that's the obvious conversation.
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not.
Because Bill has a history of bringing in veteran backs, regardless of who's on the team, right? And my opinion was it's much more an indictment on Kevin Harris and Pierre Strong. You watch them in that first game, they were awful, like absolutely terrible. They had to bring someone in. They were looking at guys all off season. They brought in Zeke, and I think that Zeke is a great fit. But you also have the history of Bill bringing in some of these older running backs that are more bruisers, up the middle type of guys. LeGarrette Blount, outlier touchdown seasons, other guys like that. So I'm not saying that it couldn't happen, but again, like you said, I don't expect it. But if for some reason Zeke was the goal line back, like from the two hammer, we know he is good in that role. So from an offensive standpoint, that could work and would suck for fantasy. But in an overall sense, I'm definitely with you. I think Rhamondre's going to be okay.
If I'm New England and I'm looking at the two backs, I want to give it to Rhamondre's bigger than damn Ezekiel Elliott. So, I mean, I just think that it's more of the fact of you need two running backs, two capable guys. Rhamondre's he's been on record to say the same thing that Eckler said. And I see some people asking, it's on Yahoo Fantasy. It's on Yahoo's. Shout out to Eckler too. I'm in
Eckler's Edge, I'm pretty sure what it's called, right?
I'm in his he's got a fantasy league this year, so I'm playing in Eckler's league with Harmon and those guys. So gotta use some of these tools to take down old Austin Eckler this year. But I think the thing is when you're looking at those two players, Zeke is phenomenal in third down situations. He can catch the ball. He is the best pass protector at the running back position in the NFL. We already know the Pats O-line is a little, it's a work in progress. So they needed to have somebody else behind Rhamondre Stevenson. It wasn't Kevin Harris. Pierre Strong has been awful. So I think this was more so we need somebody behind him. And Rhamondre said the same thing Eckler said. I wore down at the end of last season. This is much different. I was banged up. I wore down. I want to be fresh. I want to be healthy. I'm not worried about Zeke. I'm not worried about it. What did Rhamondre have? 214 carries last year, something like that?
Yeah.
I mean, he's going to be just fine. I'm not worried about Zeke in New England at all, dude. At all.
He looked good in the game too.
Well, who I am worried about, Jay, and I said this, dude, a couple of weeks ago. I think I'm just out. Jameson Williams, JRich. I'm at the point now where I'm just kind of out. Look, dude, he's suspended. He's catching passes. He's not catching passes. He looks good. He doesn't look good. My question to you is, at this point in time, what are your realistic expectations for what Jameson Williams can be in Detroit? And I'm not talking about what you thought he could be when they drafted him number 12 overall, but at this stage of the Detroit Lions career arc as a team, like, what are you hoping for him? He's not the wide receiver one. That's Amon-Ra St. Brown, cemented, right? And then if you're saying best case scenario, he's the wide receiver 2 on Detroit. Let's just give him that. But you still got to deal with Jahmyr Gibbs, who's going to get what? Let's just say 60 targets. Look, I'm just going conservative. 60 targets for Gibbs. You got Sam Laporta, conservative. 45 targets for Sam Laporta. Yeah. I'm being conservative here. Like, what are the realistic expectations for a player whose hamstring is hurt? He's going to miss the first 6 weeks of the season. Who knows how long it's going to take him to get acclimated, Jay? If anything, right now, if Khalif Raymond and who else do they have? Marvin Jones, Marvin Jones,
wide receiver 2.
Josh Reynolds. These guys better not be on waivers. They better not be on waivers. And I know the names. I don't even know if it's Khalif Raymond anymore. I think it's Josh Reynolds. And I don't know who else is back there. But what are your realistic expectations for what J-Mo can be? And since we're talking about being out, what would you sell for? We talked about this last night. People hate us saying sell for thirds. Like, are you out for any second? You're not getting a first-round pick for Jameson Williams at this point. It's not happening. Any second rounder, are you out, or are you just like, F it, I'm going to just hold him and see?
I think you have to hold him. I don't know if I could get out for a second.
Why?
But to your point about expectations.
Why? This is why you need to listen to the show from last night, because this is exactly what people do. Oh, man, I don't know if I can sell for a second. Sure. Then the market just continues to tank. And all you have to do at that point is you're praying for a bounce back that may not come.
So if this was a high volume guy, I would agree with you. But I think the difference is that Jameson Williams is one play away from basically getting his value all the way back.
I don't think so.
But you know what I mean, right?
I don't think so.
You can get.
I don't think so.
I know you don't think so, but I think it's the reality of the dynasty market. This is just, he could have a Christian Watson 2-touchdown game, and he's back, right? Christian Watson started that season off slow.
You think people would be back in on J-Mo? I don't know, dude.
I think I know. I'm not saying I know the market better than most people, but I know they are very reactionary, and they will do some crazy things regardless of what happens. And to your point, we only have Amon-Ra there. Not to say that Amon-Ra isn't great, but Amon-Ra is a guy who is going to work underneath. If J-Mo can be that down the field threat, I think people would be back in. You mentioned Josh Reynolds. You mentioned Marvin Jones. You mentioned Khalif Raymond. Those are the only guys there.
Jahmyr Gibbs,
there is opportunity there.
Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery out of the backfield.
But Swift always got targets. Montgomery will get his targets. Like, there's going to be downfield targets. They will go to J-Mo whenever he's back. I don't think I would sell personally, but if you want to sell, I can't blame you, because to your point about the initial question, expectations, they're low. 400-500 yards, 2-3 touchdowns, maybe 1 or 2 big plays. Like, you're praying he does. It's funny. So last season, right, we were hoping that he could end the year on a high note. He never really did. And it's the same thing this year. He starts the season with the suspension. We're hoping he can end the year on a high note, come into year 3, and bam, he's back. It's just hilarious to me that this is the team that said, yeah, we're not worried about Chris Olave. We'll take Jameson Williams, the guy who had to transfer out of Ohio State instead of staying on the team. And Chris Olave is now a superstar, and Jameson Williams is a guy who can't get on the field.
The chat is very divided here. I think
it's tough, man.
All I see is Joe says Laporta pops off early, it's over for J-Mo. I think it's
maybe, yeah.
I think so. I think the inclusion of Laporta and Gibbs were big time. Your ass is on notice for Jameson Williams. And I see some people in the chat right now. Jimbo says talent. Rose says talent ain't go nowhere. There's another one, Gretchen, right here. Does his talent just go away? It has nothing to do with the talent, right? We see this happen time and time again in the NFL. A lot of players are talented. They're not failing because they lack talent. They wouldn't be in the NFL if they didn't have some level of talent. They wouldn't get opportunity if they didn't have talent. It's the availability. It's the consistency. You can't gel. This is I can't think of any better way to say this than football is not like Madden, okay? In Madden, if your player gets hurt, you could just sub somebody in and run the same plays that you were running before. It's not a video game. You can't just plug people in and expect them with no practice, no continuity, no consistency, no work to go in there and produce. Like, it just doesn't happen in the NFL. So it has nothing to do with his talent, which, if we're being really real, if you want to be really real with this situation, we saw him do it for one season at Alabama.
Yes.
1 year.
Now it matters, right? Now it matters.
I'm not saying it does or doesn't. All I'm saying is, let's not act like this was a guy that we saw dominate throughout his collegiate career prior to matriculating onto the NFL. Had J-Mo not played with the Heisman Trophy winner at Alabama, who knows what he would or could be. All I'm saying is, let's not just assume that this guy just automatically rolls back in after suspension, after not being. And do you understand that when he's suspended, Jay, he's not allowed to do anything with the team? No practice, nothing. So he's just out. He's hurt, so he ain't going to practice anymore. And then he's missing 6 weeks. So for me, it has nothing to do with whatever talent he may or may not possess. It more so has to do with the fact that he has not been available early in his career, and he has been lapped by other players on his team, in particular, Amon-Ra St. Brown.
I do want to say one thing, though, Ray, and I think you'd agree with this as well. Before I'd say I'm holding, but the reality is, if I'm being 100% honest, I do not trust him to be available at this point, right? And maybe that's unfair, and that's not to say that he can't turn it around and get his career together, but whether it's injuries, whether it's, the gambling suspension, and just at every turn, he seems to let us down, right? The hamstring injury was unexpected and it happened. These things happen, but it's like, you've already been suspended. Now you're hurt. You were hurt before. You weren't productive before. As you mentioned, transferred to Ohio State because he wasn't going to play, had a great season, not very productive in college. Like, there's a lot of red flags here. And the reality is, I do not trust him to be available when it ultimately counts. And I don't really want to wait till year 3, but I don't know if trading for a second is the answer either. If you offer me 2 seconds, I'd be out 100%. 100%.
Yeah, I'm not offering you 2 seconds. I may give you a player in a second, maybe, but I'm not in the market to buy him. I'm not in the market to buy. So if I get a single second, I'm probably out. Jay, Treylon Burks, we are all expecting big things from Mr. Burks this season, and from all accounts, he has been awesome in training camp practices. He made a ridiculous catch during the joint practices this past week versus the Ravens, but unfortunately, there was some scary news for Treylon Burks. A lot of people thought that he may have re-injured his previously torn ACL that he tore, I believe, in high school. Good news is he did not tear his ACL. He did not tear MCL or meniscus. I believe it was an LCL sprain. And I talked to a couple of people about this, and my big concern was, I said, okay, when is he back? From what I heard, he's back looking like Treylon Burks by week 4. No limitations. By week 4, he's Treylon Burks. My fear was, I don't want Treylon to fall down the Zion Williamson path, okay? Treylon's a big boy. We know he's a big boy. He had some problems with his weight as a rookie. So I was like, is this one of those injuries where he can't do shit for like a month? And what I was told is no. Straight line movement, he's good to go. He will be able to run, stay in shape, run in a straight line. It's the lateral stuff that he's got to kind of get his feet under him. So where are you at with, I guess, Tennessee's offense right now as they stand with just DeAndre Hopkins? Ryan Tannehill hasn't played in the preseason because he's got that job locked up. It looks like Malik Willis, who had damn near 100 on the ground, shout out to Malik Willis, is going to be the QB2. But how you feeling about Treylon right now, knowing that he's probably not going to start the season off? But I'll just say this. They said Kendre Miller was dead too, and he's out there catching 35-yard passes from Jameis Winston. So we shall see. But how are you feeling about Treylon Burks right now?
I feel okay about him, right? I think that's the reality, is that I think the thing that I fear most with Treylon Burks is that even though he plays on Tennessee, and I've well documented how I feel about Tennessee, I think this just about cements DeAndre Hopkins as a great pick, because early on, he'll be the only guy on the team basically and see a ton of targets. And if Treylon Burks does miss any extra time, then he's going to get even more targets, right? So I think that's a great sign already for Hopkins. And then it's like the inverse for Burks. We hoped he could have a good season next to Hopkins. We weren't really sure what the target share would look like. And now if he's missing a little bit of time, does that make him a wasted pick in fantasy leagues, knowing that the first few weeks are going to be bad? And then when he is back, we don't know exactly what he's going to look like.
I heard
he's
going to look fine.
That's kind of what I'm scared about.
Well, I heard he physically will be fine. In the offense, I think he's going to go right back into his role. It's Kyle Phillips got banged up, Nick Westbrook-Akine.
Yeah. I mean, there's no one there.
There's no one there. I think this is good for Chigo Okonkwo, and I also think it's good for Tajay Spears, who I believe will earn that RB2 role behind Derrick Henry. The problem is everything that I've read is this could be like the worst offensive line in football, the worst O-line. So
yeah,
I don't know. I don't know. I am not as tapped into the Tennessee Titan market as others. I'll just say, this is an offense where I want very few pieces. I mean, we named.
Are
the
you
guys
out on Burks for 23?
No. I like the suppressed cost I can get him at now. I'm definitely not. Everything that I've heard is when he's back, he will have no limitations. He will look fine. He will be okay injury wise. Yeah. So not out on him. I'll take a little bit of the discount, but I think what you have to do is you have to plan ahead. I think there are some spots where I was depending on him to be wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3. You got to make some adjustments because as it stands today, probably not going to be on the field early this season. All right, Jay, we already kind of touched on Zeke Elliott in New England, running with Rhamondre Stevenson and Dalvin Cook in New York. So let's talk about some of the things that happened on the field week 2 of the preseason. We still have one more game tonight. It's the Commanders and who plays tonight? The
Ravens.
Commanders and Ravens play tonight. Let's go through sort of what we saw. And I was thinking that we were going to see a lot of guys play week 2. You know, a lot of guys didn't play week 1, but Jay, it felt like half of the league didn't play any of their starters at all. And some of the teams that played them only played them for a little bit. But there was some really exciting things that happened. And I think one of the things that had Twitter going crazy more than anything was Bijan Robinson getting on the field. Our first look at the Atlanta Falcons' new number 7, not Mike Vick. We got big Bijan Robinson, who first carry of the game, I think it was like an 18-yard run, juking safeties, looking explosive, playing fast. Then he catches a one-handed pass and turns that up for some more yards. How impressed were you with Bijan's debut for the Atlanta Falcons?
I was pretty impressed, to be honest. You know, I think we all know the talent that he possesses, but that first run was still like, oh, damn, like he's really like that, you know? It's not to say that I didn't believe that he could do that, but seeing it in college and seeing it in the NFL, even against, you know, potentially second stringers and guys like that, it's still very impressive to see. You know, the one-handed catches, we know that he can do stuff like that, and great to see it in a game. But running ahead of Algier, which was great, right? He ran 8 routes on 12 snaps, and Algier only ran 3 routes on 5 snaps with Desmond Ridder of the 17, so that was good to see. I mean, we all expect that he's going to be the starter, but still good to see him get the majority of the snaps, some great plays. But yeah, that first rush, I was like, oh boy. Like, I honestly thought it may take his value and just help it skyrocket. Then he kind of cooled down, settled in, didn't just go absolutely crazy, but a great debut from Bijan. And I think, you know, as I'm projecting Tyler Algier to have a role, it was good to see Algier working with the ones as well. Did you feel any differently about Bijan overall?
Nah, man, look good. Look, dude, I got fucking Ricky Williams jersey up here, man. All the Texas great running backs.
Who's your comp for Bijan right now, seeing him play that way? Because I'm trying to figure out like who I would kind of comp him to, and I can't put anyone on it right now.
I don't want to say it.
Oh, you don't want to say it?
I don't want to say it.
Come on, Ray. This is a safe space. It's just me and you. There's not 350 people watching.
Hey, hit the like.
It's just me and you.
My wife told me that she watches streamers do shows, Jay, and they'll pause the show for everybody to hit the like button. Like, they won't do anything until people hit the like button. If y'all are watching this, hit the like button. Come on, get this in the algorithm. My comp for him, dude, I'm just telling you who he looks like. When I watch him play, he looks like one running back. He looks like one running back to me. He looks like one guy. And the guy is one of the greatest running backs of all time. In my opinion,
Oh boy.
RB3 in NFL history.
Oh boy.
In my opinion. He looks like LaDainian Tomlinson. That's who he looks like. Running the ball. He looks like LT. He looks like LT. He's got this, it's this slashing, quick running style. He doesn't have wiggle like LaShawn McCoy. He's not Shady McCoy when he's running the ball, but it's just that lightning quick, one cut, boom, can accelerate, get down. He looks like LT. Like if he wore number 21, he would look like LaDainian Tomlinson. So I'm not saying that's
so quick.
I'm not saying that's who he's going to be. That's what but he looks like LT when I see him play. I thought it was a good debut. I thought Desmond Ridder looked good in the game too. Desmond Ridder looked really good. Interception was not his fault. I know people are going to blame him on that. It was not his fault. The Falcons' first team offense looked good. Drake London, big catch down the Jay, I'm just going to ask you.
I'm surprised you this long to mention it, man.
Well, let me ask you, because we know that Atlanta was already one of the best rushing teams in the NFL last year. We know that their strength of schedule this year is not very good. Is this a team that could be sneaky good, right? We're talking about, Ridder can't support. We like to think who can support what. But if he's going to just, if all they're going to do is concentrate targets to number 5, to number 8, into number 7, right? If that's the game plan, we're just going to throw to London, throw it to Pitts, dump it to Bijan, right? That's the game plan.
Yeah.
I mean, with a good offensive line, I don't know, man. If the schedule is weak, this could be okay. It could be a little better than what we were giving them credit for, because the rushing attack is going to take a ton of pressure off of the quarterback. Yep. It's going to take a ton of... If you are a defensive coordinator, let me just ask you, defensive coordinator going to play the Falcons, what's your number one objective? Who are you trying to stop?
I think it has to be Bijan.
It's
Bijan's too
Robinson.
talented. He's got to be number 1. Yeah.
You got to stop
the run, especially against Arthur Smith. Yeah, I got to stop the run.
Stop the run. Arthur Smith, stop the run. It's going to leave situations where your receivers are one-on-one with corners. Any corner versus Drake London, I'll just give him a chance. Just throw it to him. Just put it in his area. So I think this could be a little more a more fruitful situation than maybe we gave it credit for. I don't want to put my stamp on that yet, but just the game, right? You're focusing on the run. It's going to leave opportunities on the outside. We'll see how they get it done. But I thought overall, Jay, very impressive debut for Bijan Robinson and the first team Atlanta Falcons offense. I thought they played very well. Another debut for a player that we've talked about quite a bit on here, Mr. QB1 in San Francisco, Brock Purdy, Jay. Brock on the field. Brock Purdy on the field. Talk to us about his debut, but where he was very efficient, Jay. He was 5 for 6. We tweeted this out from the DD account. Brock Purdy doing Brock Purdy things, and it was a play action, 3-yard dump off to Deebo Samuel, who in turn took it like 20 yards down the field. Brock Purdy doing Brock Purdy things. What'd you think about the debut? It was efficient. He led them down the field in his first drive, completed multiple passes, ran around a little bit, and they put points on the board. Look good. And everybody that I'm reading, they're like, he is QB1. Get over it. Sam Darnold was up next at QB2, and then Trey Lance, pretty stinky to start, led them for a comeback win at the end. Ended very well for Trey Lance. So what are your thoughts on Brock's debut? And I've said this before. I said, if Brock Purdy is healthy, if Brock Purdy is the starter, this is a guy that's a top 12 quarterback potential just because of the weapons that he has nothing to do with his talent. Is Brock Purdy a top 12 quarterback? Brock Purdy's probably not even a top 25 quarterback in the NFL, but you put people who can run a system in a good offense with great playmakers and just say, don't F it up, he could be productive. So how are you feeling about knowing as we enter the season there, it's not even a question anymore. Like, we don't even need to play the game. Who's it going to be? Brock Purdy's the starting quarterback for the Niners. What are your thoughts on his upside this season? Top what quarterback for Purdy?
I think you're correct to say top 12. I think that's very fair. Like you mentioned, it doesn't really matter what quarterback you throw in this system. I think from a team perspective, we would probably take this team with the playmakers, even the offensive line, over just about any other team in the NFL. Like, you could look at some other teams and say they have better offensive lines, so you may go that route. But from a skill player standpoint, as you mentioned, dump it off to Christian McCaffrey, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, even other guys that are on this offense that no one cares about. Like, we may see some Ronnie Bell plays here or there because he was great in the preseason game. Like, there's just so many weapons that Purdy and that system creates. They don't have to do a whole lot at quarterback. And so Purdy's job is to read the defense and make the right play and be on time. And I think that's the biggest problem with Trey Lance initially, is that when we watched that first game and even a little bit in the second game, he wasn't always on time, and that's really where he struggled. And you look at Brock Purdy, he has a very good command of the offense, and he's on time frequently. And I think that's the big difference between the two quarterbacks. It's not a talent thing. It's just about getting the ball where it needs to be and when it needs to get there. And that's what Shanahan wants, because that's how the team is built. It's built to get the ball to the playmakers. And Purdy did make some pretty good throws as well. So I don't want to take that away from him. But as you mentioned, some little short dump offs to Debo, and he does the rest. I think that Debo has looked good so far, and we could see a pretty good season from him as well.
People don't really no one's really talking about Debo. And I found myself just kind of, I think you're a little stained by what he did 2 years ago and how great he was in 21. Then he had a down year in 22, and now people are like, oh, is that the real Debo? You know, he's always available. It's him and Amari Cooper back-to-back in Underdog, and it's like, I don't really want either of those guys.
Tough.
I don't. That decision at the 3-4 turn is honestly one of the more stressful things that you can do in life on Underdog. That 3-4 turn is brutal, but where do you think? You didn't give me a thing. Top what quarterback finish? If he's the guy, the whole...
I think top 12 is fair. I'd probably say top 15 is more reasonable.
15.
Yeah, I'd say 15 is more reasonable. You know, I think the question is, and we might get to this a little bit later, but I have to ask you now, would you rather have Brock Purdy or Kenny Pickett as your QB2 in Dynasty right now? Because I think that conversation has changed dramatically over the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, it had. Well, we'll talk about Kenny Pickett in a little bit, man. We'll talk about him and how the Pittsburgh Steelers are looking offensively in a little bit. I'll just say this. I'm going to stick by what I said. If he's the starter, which he is, if his weapons are healthy, which they are, he's got just as good a shot as finish top 12. And has nothing to do with his great talent and his arm, but the playmakers around him, the offense in which he operates, the best left tackle in football, he's going to have a shot. And I don't think, absent him getting injured, I don't think there's going to be a chance in hell Trey Lance gets on the field. And I'm here to say, I think he's going to start off the season as the QB3 in San Francisco. And it has nothing to do with Lance, but it feels like he's going to be the third quarterback. And I put money on it. They probably give Sam Darnold a shot before they give Trey Lance, and has nothing to do with my personal feelings on Lance. I've just been reading the team all off season, so I'm not shocked by anything that has sort of transpired. Jay, I'm just, dude, the excitement level that I have for this team knows no bounds. And it pains me.
They're so good.
It pains me because they're in the same damn division as my favorite team. But let's talk about it, man, because
let's do it.
They went out there, and when I say surgical, dog, ball in. When I say surgical, Jay, Daniel Jones and the first team offense without Saquon Barkley were surgical. And what I loved about their one drive was Brian Daboll said, I don't give a damn about establishing anything. We're going to throw the ball 9 times in a row because I want to see what my offense looks like. And it was Darren Waller, Isaiah Hodgins, Paris Campbell, Darren Waller, Daniel Jones run, Daniel Bellinger touchdown. Boom, 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 boom. Smashed. And that was against Carolina's first team defense.
Yeah.
Jay?
So good.
Jay,
so good.
It is amazing what a change in culture, what confidence can do for a person. I don't care if you're talking about football, if you're talking about being a lawyer, if you're talking about mowing the lawn, whatever it is you do in life, if you have the confidence, bro, people believe in you, your team believes in you, you feel good, you're walking into that thing not questioning if I'm going to get pulled because I make a mistake, not questioning if the fan base is going to rip me if I turn. Going into any situation in life with confidence is like the number one biggest X factor that people don't talk about. Daniel Jones is playing with confidence. Brian Daboll is coaching with confidence. And you can tell that this team, at least offensively, everything that we've heard throughout training camp is coming to fruition and translating on an NFL field. And while it just may be preseason, I'd much rather my offense come out there and look sharp and crisp in their one limited drive than go out there and have to play a whole damn half of football like Russell Wilson and the Denver Broncos. So when you're looking at this pairing of Daniel Jones, Darren Waller, and company, Jay, I'm just going to ask this question. I got a question for you, Jay. Is there a chance that Darren Waller finishes? There's a lot of people who think this could be the tight end one in fantasy because he is the wide receiver one for the Giants. But is there a chance that Darren Waller comes out here and usurps Travis Kelce as the number one tight end in fantasy for 2023?
What is the percentage you're giving me?
Whatever percentage you want to lay
I would say
on
there
it.
is a chance. I would say there's probably a 20% chance is what I would give it. I'd probably say, so my question for you, and I think this is a good question as well to kind of piggyback off this. Do you think he has the best chance of the, tight end 2, 3, 4, as I would assume Andrews, Hawkinson, Kittle is there, but I don't think we really view him quite there, especially now with Waller looking so good. Do you think that Waller has the best chance to finish the tight end one over Travis Kelce compared to a Hawkinson or compared to a Andrews? Because I don't really know if I'd say that, but I think he's damn close if he's not.
I'm taking Waller over Hawk. There's no doubt in my mind, like none. I'm taking Darren Waller over TJ Hawkinson. Mark Andrews, I think there's a chance. If you're anticipating Daniel Jones taking another step forward, if you're sitting on the side that Darren Waller is that team's wide receiver one, and they're going to want to throw the ball, then absolutely. Like, if you're just talking real football and so many, oh, no way, it's just going to be Andrews, and oh, no way, it's going to be Hawkinson. What are you doing? Yes, there's a chance. Absolutely.
Yeah.
If he's going to get 30% of the targets, if he's going to be that team's wide receiver one, if he's going to be their you just saw it in one drive. It was, and they've been saying the same thing all training camp. Who is Daniel Jones going to? It's been Waller. Oh, that's coach speak. They get out there and they do it. Oh, I still don't believe it. Yes, I think there's a chance. Absolutely. It's football, man. It's freaking football. Yes, there is a chance. Am I going to put some high 50%? I don't know what the percentage is, but there's a chance. I would take him over TJ Hawkinson. I really would. I think the floor for me is like tight end 3. As long as he's healthy, he's tight end 3 or better this season. He looks incredible. This offense looks phenomenal, and they're doing it without Saquon Barkley. I've been very impressed by the Giants. Everything that beat reporters have been talking about, the confidence of this team, how they want to deploy their weapons, the way that they used Darren Waller. He was in line and split out wide. Like Brian Daboll went out there and said, I just want to see what my guys can do together, and they delivered, man. I'm very excited for this Giants team, at least offensively in 23.
They were so good. They were so good. As you mentioned, Waller even dropped a pass. That was another dime from Daniel Jones, right?
He didn't drop it. He got smashed. I thought he had a damn concussion, but he got. I was like, please, Lord,
hit pretty hard. Come on, Waller.
He got hit pretty hard. But
hold on to that ball, big dog. Hold on to that ball. Come on.
Yeah.
But as you mentioned, and especially from Daniel Jones, and this is more what we're getting at, is like, he did not miss a throw. He did not miss a beat. Every time there was pressure, he moved in the pocket perfectly. He navigated it. Like, everything was right there. The starting wide receivers, Slayton 8 snaps, Hodgins 7 snaps, Campbell 6 snaps, Hyatt 3 snaps from the wide receivers of the 10 dropbacks that Daniel Jones took. So starting wide receivers should be Slayton, Hodgins, and Campbell. We'll see how Hyatt can get worked in. Obviously, we saw his touchdown with the 2s. Looked great. Stacked alignment, third receiver, up against the safety, post corner, boom, gone, touchdown, right? That's what we expect from Hyatt and why we're drafting him. But I'm curious how Daniel Jones can work that in the offense. But I think the reason why I'm most happy, Ray, is like, we believed in Daboll from the very beginning. We were like, we believe, and again, it's a lot of we believe, we think, but something was different about Brian Daboll from the very beginning. And that's the biggest difference. And we're seeing it continue to play out. And in year 2, hopefully we see this massive season from Darren Waller and from Daniel Jones, because it's looking like all indications are that's very possible this year.
Man, and Daniel Jones, let's go ahead and say that he was our veteran baller of the week, man. Veteran baller of the week for Daniel Jones was just money. He was incredible. He was phenomenal, and he's one of the guys that I continue to say, Jay, and people don't like to hear it. The top 5 upside, no doubt about it for Daniel Jones. He was QB 10 last year and really didn't do anything through the air. That was with 15 touchdowns, a lot of rushing yards, and 2,200 passing yards, something like that. 3,200, ridiculously low. Top 5 upside for Daniel Jones this year. I'm very excited for this offense. Very excited for Darren Waller. Jay, another quarterback who looked good this past weekend and continues to look good every time they throw him out there. Let's go to Green Bay and talk about Jordan Love, who put another good performance on tape this past weekend, in limited duty, wasn't out there for a long time. But Jordan Love is feeling like he's finding his groove. JRich, what were your thoughts on Jordan Love? He got the young rookie Jayden Reed involved in the action. We saw him week 1 versus Cincinnati. I mean, Love is out here just dropping dimes in practice. Christian Watson is getting his. Luke Musgrave, they're using him in all type of creative ways. What do you think about Jordan Love right now? Kenny Pickett, Jordan Love, Brock Purdy, we're all kind of in this same grouping to start the season. Those guys that you really didn't want them, 1-year bets. How you feeling about Jordan Love in Green Bay right now?
I'm feeling pretty good about him, but I think, every time I watch Green Bay, every time I read the reports, every time I watch the games, I continue to be so impressed with Luke Musgrave. And not just him, the talent, but his ability to get the ball and the willingness to get him the ball. Another 3 targets this week with Jordan Love. Looked to him quite a bit in this game. And this is probably, if no one watched any games this week, this is probably one of my favorite games to watch.
You said you loved to watch.
We saw a lot of the Pats game. We saw a lot of the Pats, and we saw a lot from Jordan Love in this game, compared to some of the other games where it was all backups. But you talk about the touchdown to Jayden Reed was a phenomenal throw. Yes, the pocket was clean. A great block from A.J. Dillon to block the rusher.
Great block.
But just a phenomenal throw right on the money. Outstretched catch by Jayden Reed. Touchdown. I think just the poise we've seen from Jordan Love in this offense should be expected, but not necessarily what we came into the season expecting, because again, it's still his first year starting, but he has been in the offense for a long time. He did learn from Aaron Rodgers, and there's a lot of new pieces in this offense as well. So I think, you look at Jayden Reed, he should be used a little bit in this offense throughout the season. We haven't seen much from Christian Watson though. For everything, like he's got a couple deep targets and stuff, but we haven't seen a lot from him. It's been a lot of Musgrave, a lot of Dobbs, a decent amount of Jayden Reed as well, and then some of the other guys worked in. But I think that Love has looked great. He looks poised, and I'm hoping he can continue this into the season. We'll see what happens with him, but I'm assuming you kind of feel the same way. Just a lot of good things, a lot of good performances we've seen stacked from Jordan Love throughout the preseason so far. And while it's just preseason, I think it's encouraging because we haven't seen this guy play.
Stacking days. That's what's important right now. Stacking days. You're trying to stack days. You're trying to stack days, stack reps, stack positive performances. Why? That way you enter the season with some confidence. You have some momentum. You're feeling good. And again, it's preseason, but it's impressive. Scott and I talked about this last night. All of you people out there that are old curmudgeons and, oh, man, it's just preseason. I don't care. Like, dude, it's football. Stop it. Like, it is important. It is important. Yes, I know. I don't need to see Cooper Kupp and Devontae Adams catch passes, right? What I want to see are the young players that we have some level of hope for. Go perform. Go put something on wax that I can say, okay, we can work with this. The team can work with this. So it's pulling and extracting the overreacting. I want to know how these young guys look. How are they utilizing these players? What kind of plays is this offense doing? Like what are they doing with their players that are going to make some of these fringy guys successful during the season? So relax. Golly, all of you are just old people. Get off my lawn. It's preseason. They're playing against a 5th cornerback. Well, no shit. Like, they're not going to play Trayvon Diggs. Like, it's just not going to happen. So stack positive performances, play the game, practice better. Like, that's what we're here to see. So I'm excited for Love. I'm excited for the Packers, man. And I've said this, Jay, since when? January? I don't believe he's going to be nearly as bad as people think. People all rush out there. Jordan Love is going to stink. They're going to be drafted number 1 overall. And I've said from day one, I don't think he's going to be nearly as bad as people want him to be. So I'm bullish. I'm excited. I want to see him play well. What's his realistic ceiling? I don't know. I'm not in my mind. I'm not saying he's going to be some top 8 quarterback, but I don't believe he's going to just look awful, out of place, fish out of water. I was impressed with Jordan Love this weekend, Jay. Who else we got on tap? Who else we going to talk about today? You had something else?
Are you just going to ignore Kayshon Boutt's 42-yard touchdown? I mean, we're talking about the game.
It's a good play.
This is your guy. This is your wide receiver 1 in 2023 last season.
It was not my wide receiver 1. It was not my wide receiver 1 from 2023. It was everybody's
need to check the tape on that one.
Well, he was everybody's wide receiver 1 in August, but come draft time, he was not anybody's wide receiver 1. Stop. Awful.
Good play, though.
That was a
great
good play.
Slant. Beat the safety. Bad angle by the. Was it a bad angle by the safety or a great play from Treylon Burks? Your thoughts on that? I thought it was maybe a bad angle, but he ate up that angle pretty quick, though.
Well,
quick.
I would love for it to been Treylon Burks, but it was Kayshon Boutte, and I just thought it was just a good throw. The safety was off. It was just bad. It was just bad, but good run by him. But no need to talk about that. We'll talk about him on the rookie report. I do want to talk about two rookie quarterbacks really quick, two young guys, both in action. Bryce Young and CJ Stroud. Remember all the panic on CJ Stroud, how awful he looked versus New England? He had a bounce-back game. I thought he came out. He delivered some really good throws versus the Miami Dolphins. Tua threw a pick early in that one. Thought C.J. Stroud played much better in that matchup. But, Jay, unfortunately, the bad Bryce Young, 2 weeks in a row where he's been – the offense just doesn't look good. They look slow. The receivers are not separating. The O-line is a problem. You start to see a lot of people, Josh Norris from Underdog, Pat Thorne, like talking about how bad Ike Ekwonu and the Panthers O-line, which was supposed to be a little bit of a strength for them, is looking very not good right now. Miles Sanders isn't there. Talked to my man DP, Damian Parson, who's been at the camp, said, man, they need Boobie back. They need Boobie Sanders there. But the O-line is a problem. The receivers, when you're counting on Thielen, you're counting on some of those guys. I don't know, Jay. No Terrace Marshall. It's looking like it might be a rough year for Carolina early on, especially if that O-line is going to give them fits. And all reports are they don't even want Bryce to run. So 2 weeks in a row where he's been kind of not that good, Jay. You just got to call it what it is. C.J. Stroud played better. Bryce Young did not play so well. That offense is struggling right now in a major way, man.
Yeah, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. And I think I would kind of frame it this way to people who maybe didn't watch the game or are just kind of getting our opinions based off of it. I think the thing about CJ Stroud that was so encouraging is, one, we saw the mobility that we saw in the Georgia game again on display, right? He had much more time, which was great, but when he did get rushed, he did make some good plays as well, and I was encouraged to see that. But as you've said from the very beginning with CJ Stroud, it's his accuracy and his ability to put the ball where it needs to be all the time from various angles, throwing this way, that way, running this way, running that way. CJ Stroud really showed his arm talent in this game quite a bit. And I think that's the big takeaway for me, is that we drafted him because of that arm talent and that ability to place the ball correctly almost every single time. And he did do that quite a bit. And we didn't really see what makes Bryce Young so great. And part of it, like you mentioned, was the offensive line, was the lack of receivers. It was like one play to Jonathan Mingo that was a great throw between two rushers on a little RPO play there by Bryce Young. But outside of that, we didn't see much. There was the Hayden Hurst catch that was negated by a penalty. It was like literally they got to the end zone.
That was a great throw.
It was a great throw.
That's where those are the throws that you're like, damn, okay, Bryce, make that one. But there was a damn penalty, holding, offensive line getting wrecked. And that was an effort throw. He just was like, I'm going to throw this thing.
Yeah, it was 3rd and 19.
3rd and 19. And he put that thing on a rope, but negated by penalty. So I'm just calling it how it is, man. Like it's going
to be rough.
He's looked pretty rough early, but there have been some things where you're like, is it just Frank Wright holding this offense back right now? Do they need I don't know what it is, but so far, of the big three, he's probably looked the worst of the big three. And JRich did not play this past weekend.
Yeah.
He did not play
this.
Yeah, he's looked the worst of the big three. I mean, CJ barely played the first game, and then they pulled him. I thought they should have gave him another series, but they pulled him.
I think it was smart, right? Like we saw, it was just the pressure was too much. Like he's just going to get killed back there, and he kind of did. So I was kind of on board with that overall. But yeah, JRich not playing was annoying. Like, he's a rookie. Why isn't he playing? Like, again, I thought maybe it was weather, and then I'm like, oh yeah, they're in Indianapolis. Like, what the hell are they doing? But
a lot of guys didn't play this week, Jay. A lot of cats did not play. I do want to talk about the Kansas City Chiefs really quickly. Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce both played, and they played well. I mean,
bounce back game from them.
He just does stuff where you're just like, you're just not supposed to do this. He's just running, throwing it out of the...
And it's preseason.
He's out of bounds and throwing it across his body infield. Mahomes just does whatever Mahomes wants to do, and it just works because he's the greatest quarterback we've ever seen outside of Tom Brady. Jay, but talk about Rashee Rice. Rashee Rice had started off rough because he dropped his first pass from Patrick Mahomes. It was a slant, and I'm like, here we go. Drops the ball. Then he feels his rhythm. He gets into it. And then Rashee Rice finished with, what did he have? 8 for 96 on 9 targets?
Yeah, man. Rashee Rice was looking phenomenal in this game. 8 targets and 8 receptions, 96 yards. Plays down the sideline, plays in the slot, looking very shifty. We saw this guy at the Senior Bowl, and he's looking way better now than he did back then. Much more shifty, much more agile. And I think the scary part for people who are in on Sky Moore is he's doing a lot of the things in preseason that we expect out of Sky Moore in the regular season. Not to say he's going to take his job, Ray, because I'm not going to say that right here and right now. But those quick hitters in the slot, he was looking damn good. Moving the chains, moving down the sidelines. I like what I saw from Rashee Rice. He should be on the field when it comes to the regular season.
I'm going to say this about Kansas City, and I said it last night. Scott, we were talking about these fringy wide receivers that have to thread the needle, the Justin Rosses, the Tank Dells of the world, the Puka Nakuas. And Scott said something at the end of the show. He was like, in order for those guys to succeed, they have to be on the right team with the right offense and the right quarterback and the right, like so many rights have to go right for these kind of players to actually succeed. And I was like, well, that sure as hell sounds like Justin Ross. And when you think about it, and I think it was Scott Barrett that tweeted this out, he didn't fall due to his skill. He didn't fall due to talent. No. He only fell because people thought his neck was broken and he wouldn't be able to play football. That's why he fell. When you're 6'4" and can move the way that he does on a team where the wide receiver core is ambiguous, Jay, you can preach Sky Moore, Rashee Rice, all you want. They're just a bunch of guys that nobody really knows who's good at that wide receiver core or not. No one really knows. The only one that we know definitively that has a role and can do things is MVS. We know what he can do. He's going to run down the field, catch long passes, and drop the easy ones. But outside of that, I think there's just as good of an opportunity chance for Justin Ross is for real. I think he's going to make the 53. I do believe he's going to make the 53, and he's playing and operating with the ones, Jay. I mean, he's out there with Mahomes. He's out there with Kelsey. I don't know.
How long does it take him to take MVS's job? Because you keep saying MVS's job is secure, but if there's one job Justin Ross is taking, it's MVS's job. It's not Sky Moore's job.
Maybe.
It's obviously not Travis Kelce's job. It's not Kadarius Toney. It's not Richie James. It's MVS's job. And I think of all of the roles in the offense, that's the job that you probably want someone to take because there will be a role in the offense. We saw Justin Watson out there catching touchdowns and passes out of the outside spot. So, while he's going to have a role, he's going to make the team. If Justin Ross can get a hold of that role, that would be great for him and potentially even great for fantasy. Instead of trying to project whether Sky Moore is getting the targets, Rashee Rice, Kadarius Toney, Richie James, all these damn slot underneath intermediate receivers getting targets and who's going to be the guy. If Justin Ross can take MVS's job, one, do you think that could happen? And what are the chances you give that?
Yes.
And I think could you be successful in that role?
Yes. I don't think there's any wide receiver that's just has some shit on lock in Kansas City. I don't. And, Joe's talking about Sean Tucker and, knocking players due to injury. I get it at the time, right? We don't know if he's going to be healthy, but now that he's back and he's on the field, you can't ask for a better situation for a receiver to get a chance. And what does that mean? Ultimately, if he ends up being the starting wide receiver for Kansas City, let's just say by week 5, he's assumed the starter's role. I'm not saying he's some top 12, top 24 option. I don't even want to start to project where he can land. What do I always say, Jay? I'm looking for players who have an opportunity to get an opportunity to score me fantasy points. That's what I'm chasing. I have no clue who's going to finish 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But what I can chase is, man, that guy's going to be on the field. He's going to have an opportunity with an offense that wants to throw the ball 40 times a game. I'll take my chances on that opposed to the tight end 2 in Tennessee, right? Or something like that. Just give me a shot on a guy who's got an opportunity to get an opportunity. And I do believe Justin Ross is going to have an opportunity in Kansas City. Jay, we didn't get to the Pittsburgh Steelers, but really quickly, Jaylen Warren. How you feeling about Jaylen Warren? Big run, Najee Harris, Jaylen Warren. I've been saying I think it's going to be a 2-man rotation, Jay. 2-man rotation. 2-man rotation.
I mean, I think the question is how concerned are you for Najee Harris? Because Jaylen Warren looks a lot better than he does. And while I don't think Jaylen Warren's taking his role, people are saying he could be this year's Tony Pollard. When Tony Pollard really broke out in his second season, you think he can get the work? Will he get the touch load, touchdowns, the explosion? We saw it on the run. He looked great. I mean, I think it was his only touch of the game. But obviously, when you house your only touch, you can take the rest of the day off. And obviously the Pittsburgh Steelers went out and scored on, I believe, their next play or 2 plays after that when they got the ball back up 14-0 early in that game. But Warren, I think, as you mentioned, you talked about him in your piece on the channel, the film session you did, that he looked great and should continue to have a role in the offense. Matt Canada, maybe a little redemption arc. But I do want your thoughts on Harris, because people seem to be souring on him with the ascension of Jaylen Warren in some of these rankings and projections.
I'm not going to say he's going to duplicate or replicate what Tony Pollard did. That's unfair to Jaylen Warren, and it's disrespectful to Tony Pollard and what he was able to do with Dallas last year. I will say this, and it was very evident, hence the reason why I watch preseason, hence the reason why I think preseason is important, and why I watch the tape. Like, I just went back and I watched those two play. And anybody out there, I don't care if you're a Pittsburgh Steelers fan or not, if you watch Najee Harris run the ball, and then right after that, you watch Jaylen Warren run the ball, it looks a lot like Zeke and Tony Pollard from last year. It looks like, man, that dude's really slow and this other guy's really explosive. It looks like that. Now, you stand those two next to each other, they look very different. Najee is a different running back. He's a different kind of guy. He's physical. He's going to throw people off him. He's a bruiser. He's the guy that you can give the ball 25 times to and he can wake up the next day and feel great. He's just he's built like a living version of the Predator. That's what he looks like to me. I do think Jaylen Warren is going to be a problem for Najee Harris, and I've said this. They're not going to take him off the field. A lot of people out there trying to shit on Jaylen Warren. Oh, man, he's not that good. Dude, just turn on the film. Just look at it. Like, it doesn't take a rocket science to see, like, this guy's much more explosive. I think he's going to be a problem. Low-hanging, lazy-ass comp, but he's a light-skinned brother, and he wears number 30, so he reminds me of Austin Eckler. I'm just looking at him. Reminds me of Austin Eckler a little bit. A little bit.
Tater Wolf said it. Melvin Gordon, Austin Eckler vibes.
Well, I've said that, so Tater probably got it from me, but I've said that quite a bit. But I do think that this is going to be a problem for Najee Harris. How much does it knock him down? I don't know, because when they need 3 yards, they're going to give it to Najee. When they need a first down, they're going to give it to Najee. And probably when they get in the goal line, they're going to give it to Najee Harris. He's a physically imposing back that sets the tone for an offense, but very bullish on Jaylen Warren. I think he's going to have standalone value this season. And if something were to happen to Najee Harris, it's wheels up for Jaylen Warren, Jay.
Yeah, no, I'm with you 100%. I think it's very interesting to see. And like you mentioned, we don't want to overreact to preseason, but the Steelers have looked so good. They've looked so good that I hope that they can build into this season, not just for the offense, but mostly for Kenny Pickett, man. Kenny Pickett was left for dead. They blame Matt Canada. Maybe that was partially true, but Kenny Pickett wasn't good enough last season. And this season so far, at least in preseason, he's looked really, really good, commanding of the offense, throwing great passes for touchdowns, whether it's to Pat Fryer or to George Pickens the week before. Both passes were right on the money and looking great. So I'm very excited for what we could see from Kenny Pickett this year. And I did want to go back to Justin Ross.
Are you excited for Pickett? Yeah. Like talk about that.
I'm excited for Pickett.
Okay. I am too, Jay.
So for me, right, like I think we talk about San Francisco all the time, and I don't want to compare it to San Francisco, but there's like all these weapons that we like. We like Jaylen Warren. We like Najee Harris. We like Pat Fryer. We like Darnell Washington. We like George Pickens. We like Deontay Johnson. We even like Calvin Austin. Like, all of these guys are playmakers. Yeah. Right? And so if you can get all these guys in one offense and you have a competent quarterback that can deliver the ball, commanding the offense well, which all indications that we've seen so far is that Kenny Pickett has a much better grasp this season. I'm excited for Pickett. Does it mean he's going to have this awesome fantasy season? No, but the reality is that last season where we were let down is the quarterback held back all of these weapons. What is it going to look like if this year the quarterback isn't the problem and overall this team is just much better and they're elevated or at least kept neutral by these quarterbacks? They could all thrive and be values outside of maybe Najee Harris potentially where he's going. But like Pickens could be a value, Deontay could be a value, Freiermuth could be a value. Like all these guys could have great seasons if the quarterback play is much improved from last season, and all the indications say that that's going to be the case this year.
Where are you at with Pickett in Dynasty, man? Where are you at? Let's play the game real quick. We're way over time too. I'm sorry, Jay, but we got to keep going. We just got to keep going because we got to just a few more things. We got 430 something people in here. Damn it, we'll keep going. We cannot let them down. So we're gonna play the game. Would you rather really quickly? All right.
Okay.
Let's go look at keep, trade, cut, and Kenny Pickett right now is valued as QB. Wow, Jay, I haven't been on here in a while. You want to hear some of these names? Let's start.
Okay, yeah. Talk to me.
let's start at QB8. All right, we got Justin Fields at 8, JRich at 9, Bryce Young at 10.
Woof.
What?
Okay.
No way.
Listen.
Oh
at 11, Deshaun Watson, Tua at 12, Kyler at 13, CJ Stroud at 14, Daniel Jones 15, Dak Prescott 16, Kenny Pickett, Jordan Love, Jared Goff, and Brock Purdy round out the top 20. Here go some names outside of the top 20. Kirk Cousins, Geno Smith, Derek Carr, Russell Wilson. All right? So, would you rather Kenny Pickett or Kyler Murray right now? Kenny Pickett or Kyler Murray right now? I don't want to hear if Kyler's healthy. He ain't healthy right now.
Oh, that's so
Kenny Pickett or Kyler Murray? I'm putting
I'll
ass
take
to
Kyler.
fire. Okay.
Kyler.
Kenny Pickett or Bryce Young?
Kenny Pickett. Oh, my God. Has to be Kenny Pickett.
Okay. Kenny Pickett or Dak Prescott?
I think I want Dak there. I'm pretty surprised. I mean, it feels like, what is this, 3 years in a row? I've been like, never Dak, no
Never
Dak.
Dak.
And now I'm
You've been
like,
saying
man,
that.
kind of a value, man. Like, I would take Dak there. I think that you want the production this year, and going forward, he will be fine.
Jay, I'm just looking down this list. Would you rather Ryan Tannehill or Hendon Hooker? Hendon Hooker's ranked ahead of, I'm just asking.
I'll take Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah, same here. Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones or CJ Stroud right now?
I'm fine taking Daniel Jones.
I'm taking Daniel Jones.
I think you have to.
Daniel Jones or Kyler Murray?
Daniel Jones.
Daniel Jones or Tua?
Daniel Jones.
Daniel Jones or Bryce Young?
Daniel Jones.
Daniel Jones or Deshaun Watson?
Man, ever since I did that pod talking quarterbacks, I want to say
Daniel
Daniel Jones.
Or don't be scared. Don't let the people.
I'm saying Daniel Jones, man. I'm saying Daniel Jones. I'm sticking with Daniel Jones.
Daniel Jones or Anthony Richardson?
You should probably take Daniel Jones, but I'd get it if you want to take JRich. I'd get it if you want. I'm fine either way. I'd probably prefer Daniel Jones. I'll take the security of Daniel Jones, but it's close.
Man, still mispriced.
The question is raised is, and I don't know the answer. But I think there was a legitimate case for Daniel Jones versus Justin Fields. I really do. I really do. I know you weren't going to go there, but I'm taking it there. I'm taking it there because if he does not become a better passer, if he doesn't become a better passer this year, he could easily fall out of the top 10. And that's the problem. Like, he's good. I've talked about how I think he's going to be great for fantasy this year, but like, if he doesn't show that he's a better passer this year, which I think he will, I'm not trying to say he won't, but if Daniel Jones is better this year, he's a lot better than what Justin Fields could be.
Robert's my dog.
So it's interesting.
Robert's my dog. Robert said Jones is good, but he's not like that. What is Justin?
I think that's fair from a fanfare perspective. The ceiling value and fanfare of Justin Fields gives him more value than a Jones probably
Let's go,
ever will.
JRich. Let's go.
But it's an interesting conversation. Like, I really do believe that. And I've projected both guys out. Go listen to podcasts, whatever. You can say, I hate Justin Fields. I've been long documented saying I am all in on Justin Fields for this season. I think he's going to be great. I think all of the data and information that we've seen and how I projected him out, he looks great this year. But we're talking about Daniel Jones because while I would not project him for a massive volume increase in terms of passing, I would not be shocked either because Brian Daboll is still the head coach of this team, I still believe in that. So that's where it's kind of an interesting conversation.
This is where I guess my perception on the game is much different than others. A lot of people, and Joe's been a patron of this show since the beginning. She said the Daboll connection is overrated. This is where I completely disagree. It's not about Daboll making Daniel Jones better throwing the ball. I don't believe he's overrated at all. The culture, it's very difficult to explain, dude. But
I think really the best way to put it for me is he puts his players in position to succeed.
No, it's not even just that, dude. When you walk into a locker room where the shit is toxic, you could feel it. Like, you can feel it. Like, people know it. You don't want to be there. You're just trying to get through. But when you've got somebody as the captain it's no different than your job. If you work somewhere that you're miserable, you fucking hate your boss, you don't really like the coworkers, people are all out for themselves, it doesn't inspire you to go in there and be the best version of yourself that you can be. Daniel Jones isn't Josh Allen. Daniel Jones is not Justin Fields. He's Daniel Jones. But what your job is as the culture setter, as the head coach, is to get the most out of the person that you have next to you. Jay, you're not me. I'm not you, but my job on this show is let's make JRich be the best version of JRich he can be. And what Brian Daboll has done is allowed Daniel Jones to be the best version of Daniel Jones that he can be. And that doesn't mean he's going to be Josh Allen. And people can talk all that shit about Josh Allen that they want to, but y'all the same cats that going into 2020, what was everybody saying about Josh Allen? Going into 2020, what did everybody say? What did everybody say?
Not good.
Led by one of the biggest names in the fantasy space, he was a bust. Get rid of him, bust. Buffalo shouldn't re-sign him. He can't hit the broadside of a barn. So let's not sit back and act like we all knew Josh Allen was going to be the cover of Madden in 2024. So it has nothing to do with him trying to be somebody else, but it would be you've got massive blinders on if you're like, man, this situation is so much better than what the Giants have had in years that I'm willing to bank on the situation creating a more conducive environment for success that has been there in years past. And that's all it is when I'm saying the Brian Daboll culture change. I've never said that he's going to make Daniel Jones a better thrower of the football, but he can instill confidence for Jones to go out there and take the talents that he has and put the best version of what he can do on the field. And that's where I'm at with Daboll being the culture changer in the center, man. Yeah, man, that's what he said. Ray, we need a motivational podcast. I live this shit,
slacking,
bro.
Right?
Man, that's what I'm about, man. I ain't about all the funny shit, man. I want everybody that's here at DD to have a good time, to learn, to grow. Like I just speak from the heart. I speak from things that I know. Like I know some of these things, right, Jay? You know, and I know what I'm talking about. I know some of these things. So, I mean, I don't want to motivate, but I'm just trying to provide some context here as to why we are in on that situation and that culture, Jay. But good show. We had a super chat from Patrick. Let's holler at Patrick, man. Okay. Let's holler at Patrick, man. No dog, Patrick. Said home redraft league of 10 plus years. Man, shout out to you for keeping that thing going. My offer, my Olave, 211 for his cup, 107. He's a Saints mega fan with FOMO, league titled. Threw dude in a pool. Is this vetoable? P.S. Both under the influence. So what was this? Just a straight trade? Olave for his cup? I would do it.
I don't think it's vetoable. What's wrong with that?
I mean, I'm just not into one for one player trades like that. But in home leagues,
wants to do it.
In home leagues, you see this stuff happen. I'm a fan of this team. I want Olave, and you want to get Cooper Kupp. Cool. Like for a season year, would you rather have Olave or Kupp? I would take Cooper Kupp. So, are people gonna veto this? I don't think so. But in Dynasty, I'm just not a fan of one for one player trades. But in redraft, sure, give me Cooper Kupp. I'd rather have him over Chris Olave. Yeah,
and especially because Kupp's hurt anyway. So I could see someone being like a little concerned about Cooper Kupp, especially in a home redraft league. People get concerned about stuff like that all the time.
Jimbo said he wants to see a Twitter poll: Lance versus Daniel Jones. You know what it's going to be. It's fucking Lance. It's going to be Trey Lance by a wide margin. Appreciate everybody in the chat. 465 people here. I got the thumbs up button on 197 of y'all and thumbs down by a hater out there. Keep hating, baby. We got your view anyway. We don't give a damn. Make sure you tap into everything that we're doing on DD. Jay's got a new show, Straight to the Bank, dropping tomorrow. Scott Connor and Jordan McNamara drop today on Destination Dynasty. Me and Scott did a show yesterday. We got the Overreaction Pod, Off the Line podcast. We've got Rookie Report, bunch of stuff coming from DD. Jay, my lips is dry. I'm tired of talking. What else do you want to say to the people before we get out of here?
That's it, man. Got it out in the intro. Jeff Mueller's new pod dropping on Sunday with the injuries. We talked about Scott, right? All that kind of stuff. And lots more coming. Big week this week. And I mean, we got probably 3, maybe 4 announcements on the way before September starts. So lots of things are coming. And join the Dub Club, man. Dub Club, we're dropping wins every single day. Link is in the description for that. But man, it is
Jay,
people think it's good now. There's
Jay,
a lot coming.
I know.
There's a lot coming.
I want to tease some people, man, and let them know, but we won't do that. We'll drop the hammer later. We out of this thing. Peace. Before y'all close off of the video, I just want to say thank you for checking out the content on Destination Devy. Really appreciate every single view that we get. And the only thing that I ask is that you hit the thumbs up button, like the content, subscribe to the channel, and if you can, comment below for the algorithm. Really helps the channel grow. Now, if you want more exclusive access to me and the entire Destination Devy team, patreon.com/allgas gives you that access. Now, if your money's a little funny, we do have free content for you. Make sure you subscribe to the All Gas newsletter. There's a link in the description of this video below, and subscribe to the Destination Devy podcast radio feed, where we got all types of shows hitting airwaves every single week. Now y'all can get out of here. I appreciate y'all tapping in. It's All Gas all the time. I love y'all. I'm out of this thing. Peace.